there's one prize. There's one winner each year, and that's it.
It was so hard for all of us to take because we're all best mates and we all loved each other so much.
You're watching the blokes that have won it celebrate, and you're just wishing that was you.
There's not much more I personally think that I or we could have done, and that's sport, that's life.
By the turn of the 2010 decade, the Bulldogs were a team familiar with victory and used to winning premierships. After many lean years on the lower rungs of the ladder in the first 30 years of their existence, the club had undergone many transformations, from the entertainers.
Oh, he's taken on the full! It's a try, and it's a magnificent one!
To the grinders.
And Canterbury Bankstown have won for the second year in a row.
And then the Dogs of War, all culminating in sustained success in the next 40 years of the club's history. In 2009, under new CEO Todd Greenberg, the Bulldogs dominated the regular season, but as a chance at a 9th title beckoned, they were bundled out by a team that was younger, faster and hungrier.
Mortimer's heading for the line! Mortimer scores for Parramatta!
The Bulldogs were due for another transformation in the pursuit of a championship. And they turned to England for the perfect mix of skill and toughness.
I was known as the egg chaser because I was the only kid at school that played rugby league. I grew up in Liverpool in England where rugby league doesn't exist. I went and tried it and it was love at first scrum. I fell in love with this game instantly.
James Graham was born to play for St Helens.
I just loved St Helens. That was my team, and I used to sit on the wall. I was at a lot of their very famous victories.
In 2003 he made his debut, and by 2006 he was an England representative and premiership winner.
James Graham at 20 years of age, a great future ahead of him.
5 consecutive grand final appearances later, there was still something left to attain for Graham, but it wasn't in England.
I came to Australia on a tour when I was 15, and what I really liked was that they had rugby league on a pedestal here. I sort of made a bit of a promise with myself to say, if the opportunity ever comes, I'm going to go and play out there.
In 2011, after 2 years of underwhelming expectations, Greenberg and the Canterbury board decided it was time for change, and the move to oust one of the club's favourite sons took almost everyone by surprise.
We went over to New Zealand to play the Warriors over there, and we did the captain's run before the game, and we all went into the sheds, and Kev was there, and then he said, "I've just been terminated as coach," and then said, "Rightio boys, good luck," and then left.
So put pen to paper, and I'm thinking, a couple of emails, phone calls with Kevin Moore, and I'm as shocked as everybody back home. Kevin Moore's gone, Jim Dimmock's come in.
I really think they'll give Jim Dimmock the first grade coach full time.
The search for a new coach had begun, and there was no candidate off the Bulldogs list.
Here comes the coach.
He's coming down to claim government. Des Hasler wins his second as a coach.
Des Hasler was a manly boy through and through. He played for the Sea Eagles for 12 years, winning 2 premierships, and then coached them to another 2, including the most recent, the 2011 Grand Final. But moves were afoot to bring the decorated coach to Belmore.
We thought Jimmy was going to be the coach in 2012, and Went away on the Four Nations tour, and Anthony Watmow and Daly Chair Evans were there, and Anthony went up to Daly and said, "Have you heard the news?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And said that Desi was coming to the Dogs, and I thought he was joking at first, but then, we had Des Hasler coming to the Bulldogs.
The new coach was in, and with him, some fresh ideas.
I'd been playing halfback for a couple of years, played 10 or so games in that year at hooker off the bench. So I was thinking, he might look at me as a bit of a utility role, but he sort of come in and just said to me, "I heard you're a hard trainer." And I said, "I do my best, mate." He goes, "We'll keep doing that." And he goes, "Just one more thing." I said, "What?" He goes, "You're a 5'8". But I didn't really know what to say. I was like, "Oh, yeah, you think I'm a 5'8"? He's like, "Yep."
Des came in, he was observing a lot, and then I think he just completely changed our approach to football. It was very regimented, we were very well drilled.
The new style of play CEO Todd Greenberg was looking for had arrived.
So it was this block shape where we had the likes of James Graham, Sammy Cassiano, Frankie Pritchard, Greg Eastwood, with probably the silkiest hands in the game.
Short interchange of passing between the forwards, which freed up our halves in Chris Keating, Josh Reynolds out the back of that.
A new approach to the Bulldogs' attack, with their skillful forwards put into playmaker roles and the half and 5'8" taking secondary roles.
As a half, not a lot of halves would be able to take it, but we just had to swallow our pride and be like, you know what, team first.
Round 1 arrived. Des Hasler up against his grand final opponent, Ivan Cleary, who had also switched clubs to the Penrith Panthers in the off-season.
Incredibly difficult place to play. I wasn't quite sure where we were at. I wasn't quite sure where I was at.
And James Graham, who was out there quickly making the tackle.
Do I belong here? Don't I belong here? I've got to make a name for myself. My first touch, I actually passed the ball and make a mistake. I've skipped across. And when I played at St. Helens, I was used to take a carry, push, support.
Now it's Graham attacking the line.
And the ball goes to ground.
And they've come up with a mistake.
For me, the intensity, I could certainly feel the difference. Later on in that game, at hush support, it's Corey Payne, and managed to put him through half a gap.
Corey Payne for Barber. Looming up in support. The Dogs have got 2 premiership points.
Wow, I've just won my first NRL game.
The Australian Rugby League world would like to know a lot more about James Graham after what he's shown here tonight.
We're on to something here.
The Bulldogs had won their first game under Des Hasler, and his revolutionary attacking style and winning were infectious.
It was just throwing defences into disarray.
It was very difficult to defend against, along with some individual brilliance that was difficult to beat.
The big fella gets it away to Barber. Barber gets it on to Stagg.
Thought about passing, he won't need to pass. All of a sudden only one to beat. And Zillman, he stands him up. And Zillman comes again. Morris now. And the Dogs go the length. From their own in goal to the opposition in goal. Morris finishes.
The way that we did play was different, and it opened up, the field for blokes like myself.
The Dogs won 4 of their first 5. The mood at Belmore was sky high.
There was a really, really good vibe around the club and a really good vibe around the community as well.
It wasn't just a new coach and playing style that was different this year. Journeyman hooker Michael Ennis had finally found a home at the Bulldogs, and in 2012 he was made captain.
He was the ultimate competitor.
Hey!
He was into people, he was into me. Me and him had tiffs. It was awesome though, because you know why? We cared. And that's why we won games, because we cared.
Mick just wanted to lead by example, set standards, knew exactly what to say at the right time.
If it continues in this area, I'm going to sit someone down.
Thank you, Gavin.
Okay?
I appreciate your feedback.
No problem.
Some of his pre-match speeches and the passion that he delivered them with, you just wanted to go out and play alongside him, and then he backed it up with his actions on the field as well. He wasn't the biggest bloke, but he just gave his all, and he was someone that you'd follow for sure.
He had this shoulder brace, so his movement was restricted. The rules of the game are you've got to pat over.
Mitt, find a man, let's go.
He didn't have the ability to. And the referee was like, mate, get your arm over. And he's like, sir, I can't.
There is, because I've just asked you. Thank you.
And the referee's pinged him for not putting his arm over in the scrum.
I'm not going to cop that, Michael.
I absolutely love playing with Michael.
We knew they were going to come with that, Ash.
All right, nice and calm.
That's why you
all good now?
Suddenly, 200 days pass and it's on. Des Hasler's Bulldogs face to face, finally with his old mate, Jeff Tooby's Manly Sea Eagles.
Jeff and I worked together for nearly 6-7 years, so there's no drama. There's no drama there.
In round 8, Manly were coming to town for their first encounter since Des Hasler exited.
We knew it was always going to be a grudge match against Manly.
Yeah, let's just say the Bulldogs supporters and the Manly supporters didn't get on too well.
I think it's only natural. I think the fallout from him leaving, things said from the Manly party, which I think would have hurt Des and upset him.
One meeting, he was like, "We're going to ambush the ambush," and I always went by it because it's true.
In what would become a feature during the Des Hasler era at Canterbury.
40-20,
It's a beautiful kick.
Was that Reynolds?
Yep.
He's been the best player on the field. He has been the best player on the field all night.
Games against Manly would be full of intense rivalry.
They're really hanging in tough.
Exciting drama.
Oh! Goodwin has snuck up like a thief in the night.
And no result was decided until the final whistle.
That's a try. Oh,
well,
no,
his foot's
hang
on the
There's
line.
a foot on the line.
No. He's muffed this.
They've been saved here, the Sea Eagles.
Bryson Goodwin's try is disallowed, and Manly score at the other end to compound the error.
He flopped it back. Madai had scored. Game, set, and match.
The Bulldogs will score late, but it isn't enough. They've now lost 3 on the trot, and Des's old club has the last laugh. For now.
That is the ball game. Manly have won 12 points to 10.
Des's build-up to games is no difference between a trial and a grand final. That's the way he operates. But I think you could sense there was something different.
After 10 rounds, the Bulldogs are 5-5 and just inside the top 8. But the team is just about to find their groove.
And they have won the game by 25 points to 14, the Gold Coast over Canterbury. And it's back to the drawing board, of course, for Des Hasler and his Chargers at Belmore.
After losing to the Titans in Brisbane, the Bulldogs had dropped to 7th on the ladder, and they headed home to take on the Cronulla Sharks.
You got to win tight games. You got to win it. You got to win it ugly. You got to be, do it the Bulldogs way.
Much change this week?
Oh no, we're still quite like what we're doing.
They need to get things going, otherwise they face the prospect of dropping out of the top 8.
Against the Sharks, the Des Hasler style of attack was back, as were the Bulldogs.
Reynolds getting them going in a hurry. Halatau is through. A draw and pass. Classic Bulldogs play.
In round 12, the Dogs make a mid-season signing of Krishnan Inu to add another dimension to their backline.
Inu is out there, leaping for it, firing it back on the inside for Pritchard. Krishnan Inu.
The result? Another victory.
Krishnan Inu had an amazing debut for the Dogs.
Yeah, I think he's been in 2 grand finals. He's played lots of test footy, and I thought tonight was a tidy debut.
We always had some big games, but we just always step up.
More wins followed against Souths and the Dragons, and the Bulldogs were back in the top 4.
Absolutely incredible!
We felt very confident in games that at the 70-minute mark, we'd keep going, we'd maintain our level, and we'd try and drag teams into deep water.
In round 16, the Bulldogs took their game against the Storm to Mackay.
One of the toughest games of rugby league football I've ever played. It's just energy zapping. It was just every single play. It was on, it was on, it was on.
Josh Morris was unstoppable.
Myself and Benny Barber had a really good relationship where we kind of knew what each other was doing.
Ben Barber kicks on his wrong foot towards Josh Morris. The try of the season looming. There it is. Josh Morris, have you seen better rugby league?
We were absolutely spent that day. Absolutely spent.
I think we scored a number of tries there where he passed to me or I passed to him. We just seemed to really click that year, and I think we scored some really entertaining tries throughout the year and got us a few wins off them as well.
After a round 17 bye, the Dogs continue on their winning ways with victories over the Wests Tigers and Parramatta.
Here's Morris looking for another one. Gets the ball away and Reynolds scores under the black dot.
We had so many open space tries just because of, we stuck to that process.
When you win, you have fun. You turn up to training and it didn't feel like it was a job. It just felt like you were going to train and hang out with your mates.
In round 20, Des Hasler returned to Brookvale Oval for the first time.
Brookvale was always a fortress then. I don't think I'd had too much success.
Copping abuse from left, right and centre.
To Sea Eagles fans, they couldn't wait to give it to Des. Like, for me personally, I just loved it.
It was what we loved as a team. We just loved it. We loved to be hated.
The Bulldogs started fast. The home crowd was quiet.
Reynolds is going to kick. Here's a trick shot from the Dogs. Look who's there. It's Perrott.
Manly would have been like, these blokes are coming here, they think they're going to win. Des, they would have been like, he left us. And I just remember one meeting, he was like, we're going to ambush the ambush.
A 14-0 lead, but Manly did not go away.
It'll be 2 points the difference in just a moment. This will be the last play of the game. Cherry Evans will bomb across field. Here come the Manly troops. Tony Williams is there and lost it. And it's taken dead by Kristen Inu. But you've got to stand and applaud for the players of both teams tonight.
Des probably won't say it, but I know he always loved getting one over Manly, and I've felt a lot of hatred in my life because my name is the Grub. But that was a team hatred, and it was a great night.
To go there and get the job done, we walked away from that with a lot of confidence.
You're fortunate enough to win games like this that it's just great for the club.
The Bulldogs, buoyed by the big victory at Manly, win another 4 in a row to extend their streak to 12.
At the start of the year, you want to play finals football, and then as the year went on, you wanted to be in that top 4, but as the season goes further and further, there's a good chance that we could finish first here, and we were able to do that.
And down the middle of the ground comes Reynolds, he'll score. Reynolds scores. Well, what about that? What about that?
After a loss to Canberra in round 25, the Bulldogs beat the Roosters in the final round to secure the minor premiership.
It's just a bit of recognition for having a great season. The job's not done. It's nowhere near done. But, we played well to this point.
In 2012, the final system was changed. And so, for the first time in years, the team that finished first would have to play the team that finished fourth, which meant the Bulldogs playing Manly again.
Last year's premiership winners, coached by Des Hasler, finished fourth, and his new team, the Bulldogs, finished first. Like, you couldn't have asked for anything better, could you?
Fans, media, NRL, they were all excited about it, and so were we. This is 50, 60k people at the games. It's a different vibe for semis. It's one of the greatest feelings.
We were still confident having beaten Manly at Brookvale, so we went into that game very confident.
This game was always going to be a fiery one.
Oh, Jason King loses the ball.
And it didn't take long for things to explode.
Penalty! Anthony Watmow.
Well, they're saying Anthony Watmow was knocked over Josh Reynolds,
Anthony Watmow.
who was running through trying to put pressure on the kicker.
Watch him.
Now I think Watmow has said to Reynolds, you're acting.
We always had a list of people that we had to go after. In the end, we're just two competitors competing, and heated the battle. I think I hit his hand away. I think he was just into me, and I was just like, yeah, you know what, let's go.
The Bulldogs score first, and it's Josh Morris who sets it up.
It's almost like under 7s.
For Manly, Cherry Evans gets it back for Brent Kite. Now to Ballon, now to Williams, now to Stewart, now to Maddai. Maddai bounces away from one. And who do you think stops him? Tolman again.
Unbelievable.
Tolman's performance in the last couple of minutes has been superhuman.
And there was an ad at the time, the Booper ad, and there was a healthy version and there was an unhealthy version. Aidan Tolman was the healthy version and James Graham was the unhealthy version. Aidan Tolman had a tan, had the blonde hair. James Graham was white and pale and had red hair.
He drove me to a higher standard in training as well. We both wanted to win the conditioning. We both wanted to be first across the line, and it doesn't surprise me that he came up with the try-saving play because he was doing them all year.
And the blue and white army will count it out. Siren sounds at Rugby League headquarters.
Well, there's another game. You know, I've won a semi-final now. My second year of footy, and I've won a semi-final. And you see more blue and white jerseys in Belmore now. We're getting people to training now. Like, this is it, man. Like, it's all happening. You know, we got fans waving their flags on a Tuesday when we're just doing sprints and stuff. So slowly the pressure mounts, which is great, exciting, but at the same time, you do feel it.
The Bulldogs had earned the week off and would face Russell Crowe's South Sydney Rabbitohs in the preliminary final.
South Sydney, a lot of history there. You know, they were still looking to break that drought.
It was almost a packed stadium, and I remember playing the Eels in the prelim final in 2009 as well, and it was similar. I think there was close to 70,000 there, and for some of the boys that was their first, you know, big match.
Their fans came expecting to win, and our Bulldogs fans, they came expecting to win as well.
Cassiano to Josh Reynolds, it's gone to Idu, he'll score!
We always started fast, and it's probably one of those things where when you do start fast and you might get an early try, you expect to score a couple more, but we weren't. We got turned away, and then South score. So you're like, this isn't going to script again.
I remember thinking that this was going to be a really tough game. I thought, you know, it would be very close, and then Adam Reynolds put a kick down the field and he was chasing it, and then all of a sudden pulled up and went, oh, it looks like he's done his hammy here.
Well, this changes a lot. It does. And I don't care what anyone says. When you lose your halfback, not any halfback, when you lose Adam Reynolds, it changes a whole dimension to everything.
I think that kind of took the wind out of their sails, and we were able to run on with it.
The Bulldogs would go on to win the match and qualify for their first grand final since 2004.
Here goes Greg Eastwood again. Greg Eastwood scores! They are bound for the grand final.
It's not just the game, it's the week, the lead up, and gee, what a week it was. I've never ever seen a place like Belmore go off. The cops weren't blocking off the streets, it was the fans, mate, doing burnouts in blue and white, and Joe Wells Cafe there was kids hanging off the rafters.
You know, back home, it was elevated when you got to grand final week, but nowhere near. Nowhere near what it was over here. It felt special. It felt really important. Going into the Belmore community and seeing these people just come out in their droves.
I suppose just what it means to people, what it means to these Bulldogs fans.
So here's Canterbury about to come out.
You run out and you can feel the noise hit you. When that happens, the surge of adrenaline that hits you.
Holy, what's going on here? There would have been 75,000 Bulldog fans, and wow. But I remember just looking up into the crowd when I was singing the national anthem and seeing my mum and dad in the crowd, and mate, it was just a very special moment. You know, they ride the wave with you. It was just a proud moment, like, to be able to do that and represent my family on the biggest stage.
You go out and you look around and take it in, and then you've got to forget about it because you've got the game to play.
The grand final is about to kick off. Canterbury running towards the southern end of the park in front of a crowd up near 83,000 people.
They were an amazing football team with at least one future immortal, probably two, maybe three.
The first big opportunity comes to Melbourne. Here's Hoffman! Hoffman goes for the line and he gets it over there.
Yeah, I think both sides were kind of feeling each other out.
The Storm score first, but the Bulldogs hit back before the game erupts.
Sam Perrott, I think, might have a try. Now it explodes in the in-goal area.
That was just all emotion out. Like, I had Sisawanga there, and he was a big man. He come and grabbed me, and I was like, no, please don't grab me.
I was involved in quite a pretty big incident.
It's a heat of the battle thing. It was on for all money.
See the blood on the ear? Everyone seen that? Right, it's on the record. That incident is on report. That's all you can do.
The Bulldogs were renowned for their attack, but were getting shut down by a rushing Storm defence.
They'd jam every time off the edges, so you had to have quick hands.
Josh Reynolds makes a break from a kick.
Reynolds is away down the right side. Beautiful chase, ending in Melbourne, finishing up with the ball.
Gareth Widdop, ankle tap.
Gareth Widdop, a great chase and tackle.
It was actually a bit of a ploy for us. It was a weapon. I'd be like, if you don't want to catch it, just bat it and I'll be there. All the other players thought it was going, but he got up and batted it back, and I remember sprinting away, and I'd back myself from Matey, and I'm running down the sideline thinking, how good's this grand final try? And then bang, a good old-fashioned ankle tap.
The play where Slater looks like he's going to sweep out the back, but then comes in between the two Melbourne players.
And Cronk got it away to Slater, he's over Billy the Kid.
Really smart coaching from Bellamy, because he knew how we defended, and we probably weren't expecting that.
The Storm have the lead, but the game is still neck and neck until a key try right on half-time.
Cronk puts a kick in. Oh, Justin O'Neill.
We've got to really get ourselves out here, and Melbourne, when they get in front, they lead really well. We didn't come from behind much that year. We always were leading a lot of the time. So it was a bit of a different scenario for us, but we had the self-belief to think that we could do it.
The Bulldogs had many close chances, but each time they were repelled.
Ennis, he goes himself, the captain. Referee wants to see it. Ennis goes on to Tolman. Tolman away to Keating. Keating to Barber. Barber's turned a couple of them around.
As what had happened throughout the year, I just kept on moving and supported him, and we'd done that kick play a number of times and it had worked throughout the year, and I got my boot to it, and just as it was about to bounce up in front of me, I thought it was going to bounce right into my hands. Probably the only time in my football career that the ball hasn't bounced how I thought it was going to bounce, and ended up bouncing over my head and I got a hand to it, but Billy managed to come and knock the ball dead.
He kicks to the centre. Josh Morris is after it. Can he get a bounce? Can he get a bounce? No, he can't.
Every other week that bounces straight into his big mitts.
All season it had been bouncing, and it just didn't.
That's where you start thinking, like, is it our day?
I certainly felt like we had the momentum at that stage of the game, and that was a blow, and that really hurt. That sucked.
As the full-time siren drew closer, the Bulldogs had one last opportunity.
Morris in and away, right, down the left side, there's the kick, but Melbourne are there.
We had opportunities to win that game, but yeah, we just didn't nail them in the last moments.
And that's the fine margins between success and failure when it's all on the line. And yeah, we were a very high-scoring team. We knew how to get points, and they knew how to defend it. And they had an answer for pretty much everything we threw at them.
That's probably what hurt us so bad, because we probably didn't play our best game on the day, and it really hurts because we done it all year and we just couldn't do it on the big stage on that day.
It's just hollow. It's just hollow. It's just something that you've worked so hard for all year. You've gone through the highs and lows and with your teammates. That's the lowest of the lows, that one.
Just deflated. Like I just remember laying on the ground. I use this photo a lot throughout my career because, you know, I feel, because I'm from that area, I let people down, and it just meant a lot to me. It really did. I just remember sitting there and not ever wanting to feel that again, ever.
Yeah, we didn't get what we were aiming for. But yeah, we get back up and try and go again.
Young boy, grew up in Belmore. We lived in multiple houses within the Canterbury district. Mostly my grandma's, whose house was about 800 metres from Belmore Stadium, and then now my mum lives literally 200 metres from there. So I didn't have a choice really. I just grew up loving footy. My grandfather was a very big rugby league fan, so we'd always go and be up on the hill and sliding down the back of the hill with our cardboard and being all cut up, and that's what it's all about.
The Bulldogs' off-season was a tumultuous one. James Graham was suspended for his role in the grand final melee, while Ben Barber was stood down for behavioural issues off the field.
There were a couple of distractions. Obviously, they were two big figures in our run the year before, so not the way we wanted to start.
It was hard for Jimmy because he'd done something the year before and paid the price. It was a not nice place for us to be in.
I felt like I'd let everybody down. I couldn't be out there. I wanted to be out there. I just felt like I wanted to get back and make an impact.
The Bulldogs win only 2 of their first 7 games. The side is struggling to adapt their new style of play without the key linchpins, James Graham, Sam Cassiano and Ben Barber.
They've got the ball back quite unexpectedly, and Chase Blair has got his second try.
You've got to play a different way. You really do, and that's where I think it harmed us. You know, we didn't have the James Graham digging all the way into the line, playing out the back, and I think as us as halves that thought we had to maybe step up a little bit more there, and yeah, it wasn't the easiest of starts.
James Graham returns in round 8, and immediately there's a change on and off the field.
We played the West Tigers at Homebush, and just a relief that I could look to contribute again.
James Graham.
I had the game taken away from me. It's the thing I love more than anything in the world, and myself and Sam Cassiano, coincidentally, he was injured. We both came back, and that sort of started the resurgence of Bulldogs 2013.
We start winning some games, and then we're like, oh yeah, we found our groove again.
He's a player that makes things happen. Josh Reynolds.
3 wins on the trot, and the Bulldogs are clicking again. State of Origin just around the corner, and 2 of their players are getting attention.
If your team's performing well, you come under consideration.
Josh Morris and his twin brother Brett came through the rugby league ranks together. From Kiama, they joined the St George Illawarra Dragons before Josh moved to the Bulldogs
Just so much joy, just of like, because obviously it's her son.
The game is tight. New South Wales lead, but title holders Queensland are coming back.
That's brilliant. Great scrambling cover defence by the Blues.
The Blues hold on to win the game, but for Josh Reynolds, it was bittersweet.
Yeah, I didn't get a minute on the field.
The Blues win 14-6.
On to game 2. Coach Laurie Daly sticks with Reynolds as the series heads to Queensland.
Enter Queensland. Wow. I thought I was hated in clubland. I've never seen so much hatred in my life. This is it. Like, let's go. Like, bring it on. And coming on at hooker, my job was to do little things. Tie in, kick, chase. Just be annoying. To be myself, really.
And Josh Reynolds is into Origin for the first time.
Papali gets the ball and I've read the play on the inside. And I've just absolutely tried to throw my whole body at him.
Oh!
I was actually a bit proud of myself. We both went back. Really, I should get squashed.
Queensland level the series. Reynolds is cast aside by Coach Daly for now, and the Blues will lose their 8th straight in Game 3. Back to clubland. Reynolds and the Bulldogs have a task to get their side back into top gear.
Start of the season probably didn't reflect the squad that we had. There were 2 front rowers down, myself and Sam Cassiano, but I think everyone was fit.
After 16 rounds, last year's grand finalists are out of the top 8, and a trip to Melbourne is coming up. A grand final rematch, but without the Origin stars.
Plays it back, Graham turns it out the back, Reynolds again, quick hands away to Rue, they must score. He palms it away on the outside of Perrott, who falls over and puts it down. He could have scored himself. Ennis, Finucane out the back. They've got numbers. Oh, around the corner to Williams from Hodkinson. What a magnificent pass. Turns it out the back. Kick over the top for the winger. Brown will get through and take it magnificently as a try. Beautifully worked by Canterbury. They knew they had the numbers.
They just didn't have any of their Origin players, but at the same time, it was nice to get one back on them.
When you beat a Store side 39-0, you just wish it was the year before.
The Bulldogs win 3 in a row to cement their spot in the top 8.
Graham's over adjacent to the uprights.
This is that feeling of coming into training and knowing everyone doing their role and knowing what we can do. You're never going to lose that confidence of 212 of what we've done. And I always think we held on to that. We always knew what we could do.
With 5 rounds to go, the Bulldogs were back within touching distance of the top 4. But key losses interrupted their run home.
It's close, but they don't play close, do they?
There was probably more confidence from the year before. We knew that we hadn't played our best footy throughout the year.
Heading into the final round, the Bulldogs have done enough to qualify for the finals, but little more. In a meaningless game in Brisbane, they go down to 12th placed Broncos 16-11.
And this come down to Corey Oates and he'll score!
Which means they have to face the Wayne Bennett-coached Knights in an elimination semi-final the following week.
Des was pretty angry after that one.
You don't want to lose your last game going into a semi. It's just momentum. I think semi-finals are about a lot of momentum. And it's probably fair to say we didn't have a lot of it that year. That's probably the best way to explain it.
We had a healthy squad going into finals. We felt like we could give it a shake, and we just didn't turn up against Newcastle.
Jared Mullen from 29 metres out, high kick, coming back. Oh, he took it, Duarte, he scores a magnificent try!
We weren't the same real team that year. We just weren't, and obviously there was a couple of factors and whatnot, but I just think we maybe went away from what we were doing sometimes, and yeah, it wasn't exactly smooth sailing like 2012.
Lacking the pizzazz of that attack of 2012, the Bulldogs are overrun by the Knights 22-6 to end their season abruptly in the first round of the finals.
We played terrible that day. We were never in the game. We lost our blueprint. You know, we were a good team, but good teams don't do that, and it was a hard one to swallow because we could only blame ourselves. So, yeah, it sucked.
Dressing room was pretty quiet. It's like this realisation that we're out was not good enough, and Des let us know about it when we got back to the Leagues Club. Like Des just said, we didn't and we wouldn't bleed for him today. He was shaking. I can still remember it.
He was really angry. It would hurt him because he's like, you want to be the team that makes one grand final and then makes one semi the next year. Like, that's no legacy. We had all the ingredients to be a really good squad, and he cares. I'll give him that. He cares about the game and he cares about us, and yeah, just wasn't happy that we put in that performance on that day. And I think just the whole year, was it the 2012 Dogs?
After the year that you have, you want to be the team that's playing in the grand final again, and throughout stages of the year we looked like that side, but then throughout other stages we didn't look anything like that side.
"2014 was a new start for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. 2012 grand final halfback Chris Keating is off to England, and Ben Barber has left for Brisbane.
I guess on everyone's mind was who's going to play fullback. It's arguably the most important position.
I just think I had to take a bit more personal onus on the attack.
We're just going to have to crack on.
And as fate would have it, the team that upset the Bulldogs in the final round of 2013 would now have to come to Sydney to take them on.
Side day away to Hunt, decoy runner Hammond. Now it's gone out to Copley. Copley on. They've got a pass and he's over, Miranda.
It's not the result the Bulldogs want. Once again going down to the Broncos, 18-12.
It's about wiping the slate clean and trying to get back to that side that we know we can be.
In round 2, things improve. A 42-4 win over the Sharks. But round 3 is another close loss, this time to the Panthers.
To win it for the Panthers, Moylan starts it on line, keeps it on line. Moylan wins it for Penrith.
We've got to go to Perth next week against a handy football side and win a game of footy because we lost one here today.
I actually think, if anything, this year we had to be a tougher side.
Round 4 sees another instalment of the Melbourne-Canterbury rivalry. This time, Melbourne have all their big stars named, and the game is to be played in a neutral venue, Perth.
It poured down in that game, and just before the kickoff, Cameron Smith withdrew with injury, which was a big boost, definitely.
I used to love playing in the rain. Obviously helped that Cam Smith was out.
They got on the board early and then kind of kick-started us into gear and were able to then go on and play some really good football, and that gave us a lot of confidence.
Here's Reynolds again. He chips it wide. What a piece of play again!
Any win against Melbourne is you're going to have to fight for, so that was no different.
Graham!
They scored that day as well. Yeah.
The Bulldogs were clicking into gear. Next up, the 2013 premiers, the Roosters, in another game affected by the conditions.
I used to love playing the SFS. There was always hard games against the Roosters. Obviously the Sonny Bill stuff, when he went back to the Roosters.
They kept sending Sonny Bill at Trent Hodkinson all game, just kept on sending it at him, and he come up trumps every time. I think a couple of times he forced the error.
The Bulldogs' defence has been tremendous all night. They've tackled hard, hit in numbers.
The game goes down to the final minutes, and the Bulldogs had a special play lined up for just this occasion.
We'd practiced it before, like called a switch. So the way it would work is if we're at the left post, he'd pass it to Hocko, so we'd go just outside the left post and switch it back to me, who would be pretty much smack bang in the middle. And then I had a free shot straight at the post.
Hodkinson sets himself and he then passes to Reynolds. Reynolds gets a kick away. They like it.
Oh, that's very professionally done.
Yeah, we run it, and yeah, I knocked it over, and it ended up being the game-winning field goal. That was it. And
watch this. Ball left, up go the chasers, across to Reynolds, clear running, bingo.
All right, they're the premiers. If we can get a win over them here, that can set up our season nicely.
The following week, the Bulldogs' halves were at it again. This time, Trent Hodkinson kicking a field goal for a 1-point win.
Hocko kicked that field goal, and it was a tough game, and it's hard to beat the Warriors in New Zealand at any time. And if anything, we're growing in confidence because we're like, look, we haven't got barbs, but we're still winning games. We're still doing, nitty-gritty wins.
It was kind of a running joke after the second week. We'll probably win the next game by a field goal, and sure enough, we ended up doing it.
Hodkinson, he has kicked it!
Round 7, Good Friday. Once more, a 1-point win.
We never went to Golden Point. No, we just got the job done.
It's character building. It's nailing big moments.
The mental side of the game, we did a lot of work with that, particularly the halves, Josh and Trent.
I think it was something about those two and about us and our preparation and that belief that we had that we'd get the job done.
The Bulldogs were on a roll. Wins over Newcastle and the Dragons see them heading to Hamilton to take on the Warriors. And with the game on the line, one of their most important players stands up.
They had the numbers, so I was kind of backing off, but as I was backing up, I kind of got flat-footed, and he managed to get around the outside of me. So straight away I started to turn and chase. And then he beat Sammy Perrott on the outside, but it just gave me enough time to get back in level with him. And he was going for the corner post, and I knew I had to try and drag him out or get some part of his body over the sideline, and just managed to kind of jump in the air and grab him by his shoulders and try and pull him towards the sideline. And it did just enough to get his leg to buckle and get out in the sideline.
Johnson will take on Perrott! Johnson! Oh, he's over the sideline! Morris has saved a try!
That play, it just spelled Jamal's to a T.
The fans started calling me Super Moz because it was a bit of a Superman effort to try and drag him out.
The success of the Bulldogs isn't going unnoticed around the league. New South Wales coach Laurie Daly not only selects Josh Morris in the centres, but goes with a new halves pairing. Trent Hodkinson at halfback and Josh Reynolds to start at 5'8".
There was whispers that we were going to be named, but no one knew. So we come back on the plane, all pumped. We get back to Sydney Airport, and it's a mosh pit of cameras. And we're like, what's going on here? And then I think one of the boys got their phone alerts on or something, and they're like, boys, he's in the team. And I was just like, is this a joke? So I was just like, mate, and then they're all like, oh, how's it feel? And I got to play the year before, but to be named for the number 6 for the Blues, there's a photo that Grenade Guards took of me just literally looking at my jersey. That moment that I realised that I'm going to play number 6 for the Blues, and next to me, my little mate in Hocko.
Like that guy I'd been in the injury horrors, so I was delighted for him and Josh, like this unfancied halfback pair that happened to play at Canterbury.
We almost got there in 12, we lost by a field goal. In 13, we lost by maybe a try. Like every year we were so close, and Laurie came in as the coach, and it was the 100th game at Suncorp. Arthur Beetson had just passed away, so Queensland had retired his jersey, and we knew that they had 2 games at Suncorp.
The hardest position to be in an Origin arena is definitely the number 7 jersey, but also in the halves. There's pressure. There's pressure of the whole state on you. The Queensland papers writing, who let the duds out instead of who let the dogs out.
We had a mentality where it was do whatever it takes to win. We knew that if we could go up and win the first game and up at Suncorp, that we could really ruffle their feathers. And in that game, I think you saw players that were willing to do whatever it took to win that game.
Whatever it takes, like you put your body, put your mind in places it doesn't want to go. And I think that's what Origin for me was about.
Oh, he's hurt himself. He's in agony, the try scorer.
For Brett, obviously, he broke his shoulder scoring the try and managed to stay out there. He came up with the try-saving tackle in the corner to pretty much win us the game.
Brett Morris with a magnificent tackle.
The darkest place I'd ever been in was that Suncorp game, but I just didn't want to let my mate down. I just didn't. I didn't want to let my mate down and let my state down because I was over it.
For myself, I hurt my knee.
So Morris
is off on the far side of the ground and he's limping back on as play comes to his side and he makes the tackle, Josh Morris.
When you look back in Origin folklore, you see him down on one leg and get back up and go and tackle Greg Inglis, even though he was out for a number of weeks. It was pretty incredible.
He was down on the sideline and comes back and makes a tackle with a PCL. But that's just made him the person he is, and that's why we all loved him.
But that was just more about trying to protect Brett from having to make a tackle.
Tap by Smith, gone from Parker, gone to Thurston, gone to Hodges, now to Slater. Slater is tackled. New South Wales have won the first game of the encounter.
Chop Watmow, he ruptured his bicep, and then Bo Scott, after the match finish, collapsed with exhaustion, and we went into the dressing room, and for about 10 minutes Laurie just sat there and didn't say a word. He just let the players recover, and then eventually had his speech and just said, now we've got to go back down to Sydney and win that game.
Over losing to that team. I was born and bred here. I love it here. So it hurt me for all those years that we were losing, and for me to be able to try and have some impact on that was special. So I just remember that hooter going at Suncorp, and there was 4 of us, and we literally just turned around and went to the crowd, and we were just like, get that well and truly into you. Because 1, it's hard to win game 1 up at Suncorp, and 2, not many people have done it. So we were just super proud, and I think it all just come out. But the thing was, we knew we had another big game, and even though I was at home, I don't care what anyone says. When you're playing against a team like that, at home or not, you better be ready to play.
The Blues head down to Sydney and make history, ending Queensland's record 8-year winning streak with the dynamic duo from the Bulldogs taking centre stage.
I couldn't see how many times I've watched that dummy.
Farah, dummies, double pumps. Hodkinson is over. Hodkinson comes around. He puts the ball down. The Canterbury halfback.
I'm so proud that I get to call him my mate, because what a moment goes down in Origin folklore, because he threw that dummy.
I was so happy for him, so happy for a person knowing what he's been through and somehow managed to find a way to get the win.
He'd been through a lot of stuff, and I just love that he was the guy that threw that dummy. No one can ever take that away from us, ever. I don't care what you say about us, hate us or love us. We broke that drought. There's a photo of me jumping into Luke Lewis's arms, and he's carrying me like a baby, and there's a flame in the background, and even all the things off it, embracing Hocko after it. And I just remember seeing the sea of crowd. There's no emotion there's honestly nothing to be able to explain that.
Yeah, it was so good to share that 14 win with them, Brett, but also the blokes. Certainly a memorable game and series.
Holding up that shield, we knocked off one of the best ever Queensland teams. It was a great experience.
For the 5 million people back in New South Wales.
Having those players unavailable or having them back up, it's going to come at a cost, and it came at a cost to us.
New South Wales won the series, but in the meantime, the Bulldogs could only manage 3 wins in the 10 games during that period. And to cap it off, Captain Michael Ennis announced he would be leaving the club at the end of the year to join the Cronulla Sharks. Like New South Wales, the Bulldogs would have to do whatever it takes to stay in the race for the finals.
Josh Jackson and Tony Williams played in the halves.
Against Manly, coach Des Hasler went to extreme lengths to fill the half spots vacated by Reynolds and Hodkinson.
Here's James Graham. Graham scores.
We won. We won that game with Tony Williams at 6 and Josh Jackson at 7.
Josh Morris was out injured, while Josh Reynolds had to serve a 2-game suspension following the Origin series.
Des had a word to me and Hocko saying, boys, I know you was on high and I love yous. I'm not taking anything away from what's happened, but you've got a job to do now here.
We knew what side we had, and even Des would say, we just need to get to the finals and we'll be fine.
I was just really frustrated because we weren't finding that same form.
You cannot kick out and hit a bloke in the face.
That's when Des was just saying to me, mate, well, where's that grub who was, you know, fiery but not over the top and just aggressive but not over-aggressive. And it was a tough little period.
The season goes all the way down to the final round. A win could see the Bulldogs finish as high as 4th, while a loss would have them in jeopardy of missing the finals altogether.
What a game that was. What a game. That was the Josh Reynolds deliberate forward pass.
The game starts well, but just before the half, a strange moment occurs that changes the trajectory of the match.
So we're 18-0 up, 39 minutes and 55 seconds on the clock. Josh Reynolds runs across the field.
The siren had went, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll be a bit cheeky and go out, but then throw the ball back in. Silly.
Josh Reynolds will pick it up, and I think he's going to take the ball into the dressing room with him.
Well, I'm not sure
What on
that he
earth's
was
he done
out.
here? The touch judge says he was over the sideline before he threw it back in field.
Wow. Yeah.
And a penalty.
He's run to the dressing room. Referee has given a deliberate forward pass.
I didn't hear the whistle. And I remember running in, and somehow Jimmy Dimmick was in there, and he's looking at me and he says, get back out there. And I'm like, what do you mean?
So they have a tap, they kick it across field, we all scramble over, back, another kick to the other side of the field, we all scramble over. Now Josh is going to tell you that he came back onto the field.
So I sprinted back out of the tunnel, sprinted onto the other side.
He puts the snap banana kick across the field. Anthony Don loses it forward.
Over here. We got it knocked down.
No, I don't think he did.
And I've never got that many daggers from my own teammates in my whole life.
I think Josh got asked 30 times, like, what were you thinking? And, you know, Reynolds didn't have an answer.
I walked into the shed. I remember just sitting down, and I remember Des walking into the shed. And he looks at me and he goes, I'll deal with you later.
At that moment in time, because it was a Sunday game, we knew we couldn't finish any higher if we won, and we couldn't finish any lower if we lost.
And Takarangi goes himself. Brett Takarangi's got it down.
But look, we wanted to win. We wanted to have some form going into the playoffs.
So we're running in and we're all spewing. We're all like, oh no, we've lost this one.
My head's gone behind the sticks. Like, I'm gone. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening.
He goes, no, that's it. No, I'm riding the season off. It's done. And mine just clicked in my head and I went, what are you talking about? Like, what are you actually talking about? We're in the semis. I know it's not perfect. He goes, no, that's it. I'm riding it off.
We're going to Melbourne next week. Like, we're going to Melbourne. What are we doing? Losing to the Titans, with all due respect.
Goes back to Zillman off the left. Will Zillman! Will Zillman has kicked it! And the Titans have won!
He had some choice words behind the sticks.
Des had been saying to us the whole time, if we make the finals, we'll be fine. We had the loss against the Titans, and he wasn't happy about that. But we walked in on the Monday, and Des was pumped. He was excited. He goes, "What better way to show that we're a team that can win this by going down to Melbourne and doing something that no one's done."
The Bulldogs had another encounter with the team that they lost to in the 2012 Grand Final, and it was in Melbourne.
We needed that bad loss. We needed to hit rock bottom to get a response. There was a few of us that sort of got together and just said, I'm not going down to Melbourne to make up the numbers.
Ambush the ambush, big time. This was one of our biggest ones, I think, and all I can say is Tim Laffey.
Roberts throws an intercept, and away goes Canterbury's Laffey. They won't catch Laffey.
The Bulldogs wound back the clock to the entertaining years of the early 80s and played some of the best attacking football seen that year.
Graham away. Hodkinson! He goes over to score!
Pick a hill to down. The hill we picked was go after this game, see where we go, and we just blew Melbourne off the park.
Oh, here's Laffey. He's going to soak up his third, and he smokes down the sideline to get it.
Everything just seemed to click. I think the intensity of our defence was where it needed to be, and our attack just seemed to flow, and like Des was right.
One of the best performances I've ever been a part of, and yeah, we advanced to week 2, where again it was that same mentality.
Next up, another sudden death match, this time against arch-rival of the era, Manly.
Oh, Des is going, how many times have we got to play these blokes?
Des Hasler up against his old club again, and he was going to beat them at what he did best, his unique attacking style using key prop James Graham.
There'd be another forward with me, half at the back, and sometimes we'd put the fullback on the inside, and the idea was that if one person pressured, I'd look to find Sammy on the inside, and it had worked a couple of times that season.
Sam Perrott has scored!
Just sort of happened quickly, and then cut back inside and give the ball to Sammy P, and he did the rest.
The Bulldogs were up 16-0, but as for all the games during this period, it was going to go down to the wire. Manly were coming back fast, but one more Bulldogs try would deliver the knockout punch.
Here they come to Hodkinson. He goes out. Oh no, it's out. The winger, Mitch Brown, had 1 foot outside the field of play.
I'm sick of apologising for that. I spoke to Mitch. Look, I know people feel sorry for you, but just come off your left foot, mate. It's not that hard. Score the try. That's your job.
Yeah, I think Mitch Brown was on the end of a pretty good spray there. Yeah, no one was immune to them.
Jimmy and Mitch have got a great relationship, and we always G him up about it. But that's just him, raw emotion in the moment, just like, why? Well,
if they could go in at 16-6, they'd be pretty happy with that.
Hodges is over. There's your answer, Peter.
Again, off to an absolute flyer in that game, like out of the blocks, bang. Manly come back.
It was a tough game. It was a grinding game.
Here's 4, and there's the kick for Stewart now. It's gone to ground. They're going to get the ball. They're going to score. Whoa. Chase Blair. And there's a bit of a dust-up in the in-goal.
Yeah, I think there was a get square with Michael Ennis.
The Sea Eagles level the scores, and for good measure, Rennie Matua is sent to the sin bin to miss the remainder of regulation time.
Oh, we're done. It's over. Like, we've lost this game that we had.
Jamie Lyon has a kick from the sideline here to put the Sea Eagles in front. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. When you got one down in the bin, it's not the best feeling because you feel like they're rolling, and you got to sort of try and stop the rot, I guess.
Then he's pushed it left.
So 16 all.
Just get through the next 10 minutes, and if we can get through it without them scoring, we're a big chance of winning.
The Bulldogs make a play that comes off the referee, and confusion reigns supreme.
No. Scrum. Scrum.
The rule is a territory.
Sorry.
Well, Josh Morris has just won the argument.
Des told us that rule not long before, because I think it had happened a couple of times in our games. I knew the rule and saw the hand go the other way and just ran straight over to him and just reminded him of the rule, and we ended up getting the ball. So it's not often that you talk to the referee and get him to change his decision. So it felt a bit like Cameron Smith.
I'm going to assume that I'm not in the footage saying you got that wrong, sir. I would never question a referee and their decision. I think that footage has been doctored.
The ball goes back to the Bulldogs, and the Iceman makes the big play.
There goes the shot, and it looks good. The arm goes up. There's the break up.
But minutes later, Manly's Daly Cherry Evans replies, and the score is 17-all, heading for golden points.
He's got the kick.
Cherry Evans just nails one as well, so then we're like, Iceman, you got two in you?
Full time, full time, 17-all.
When you had a bloke like Trent there and Josh there steering us around, we just had to get ourselves in a decent enough position to allow them to ice the game for us.
We were actually talking about the switch, possibly again, but we tried it once and someone read it. So gave it to the Iceman and...
This is the last, here comes their shot, and there goes the kick from Hodgkinson.
He's got it.
They've got it, they've got the kick, they've got the game.
He delivered, as he always did, and
it was almost like we had won a grand final. The crowd there was amazing. I remember all the boys just running over to the sideline and just losing it, and it's certainly a memorable victory.
That's the beauty of sport, isn't it? When you think you're done, you're not. And yeah, we somehow scrambled and found a way. That game was certainly one of those where you do get caught up with just how enormous that occasion is and just all the emotion that comes with it.
He is a wonder boy. He is an absolute wonder boy.
Trent just like carrying on a bit, going, I'm the man, or whatever he's saying. But that was him. That was him in 2014, and that's what he was known for, icing games.
The Bulldogs are through to the preliminary final to take on the Penrith Panthers. Halfback Jamie Soward, a winner with the St George Illawarra Dragons in 2010, has led his new club to a top 4 season. But now he had to face a huge Bulldogs pack led by their spiritual leader, James Graham.
He had a target on his head that night, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, we went after him. We that was one of our things. If we could rattle him, he had the ball on a string. He was hard to get to too because he stood so deep, and it'd be a bit frustrating. I just remember going like, yeah, how do we get to this bloke? So we thought, let's tire him out in defence. So we actually ran a lot of traffic at him, and that was a part of our game plan.
And Soward is with him, so is Idris. Got the ball down to Thompson.
So far during that final series, where start fast against the Storm, blow them away, hang in. Manly, it almost didn't work, but that was our thing, and I think that's what that was the hill we were going to die on.
Ennis again, and Graham, the unstoppable man. James Graham has scored.
The Dogs were rolling towards their second grand final in 3 years. But during the game, one key moment would have a major impact on their premiership chances.
I can just remember being devastated at the end. Mick wasn't going to play the final. Like, genuinely gutted.
We might not see Michael Ennis again.
He was very upset because if we win this, we're in another GF, and it was tough to see him like that because I knew it all hit him, and it's hard, especially as a team. Like, Mick gets us around the park, he gets us to our spots, he guides the forwards around unbelievably. So, yeah, it was tough to come out without him in the second half.
The Panthers had one last opportunity to tie the scores, but Josh Morris was there to defuse the Jamie Soward bomb, and the Bulldogs were going through to another grand final.
Canterbury will go into the grand final.
It's a nice feeling, that relief that you didn't fall one step short. You get into playing another grand final, so everyone was pumped.
It's a different feeling because you're like, we got to go. We got to go again. We're not losing again.
Mick had become a close friend over the 3 years. I was very sad that he was leaving. And of all the games to miss, you're gonna miss the grand final, mate. Like, I knew straight away. You just tell he wasn't playing.
I pretty much tried to shut off from that game as fast as possible. Great win, straight into the next. I think the first time I got very excited. The second time my preparation was a lot better. I wanted to make sure that I was physical. I'd done everything I'd done throughout the year to come through it, and all the boys were the same.
Bulldogs skipper Michael Ennis believes he needs a miracle to recover from a foot injury in time to play in the premiership decider against the Rabbitohs this Sunday.
All week, the media is focused on whether Michael Ennis will play or not. His opposite number was out with a suspension, but Ennis is still named by Des Hasler and given every chance to play.
Would you be prepared to play injured?
Oh, of course, mate. I've played injured plenty of times. It's just haven't
haven't faced this sort of injury before where it's just unfortunate that it's come at this time.
There was another storyline that had everyone's attention, the battle between Englishmen Sam Burgess and James Graham.
I guess the fact that the Bulldogs leader, middle forward leader, was from the north of England, and South Sydney's leader, middle forward leader, was from the north of England.
We both play in the middle, so we're going to have to tackle each other. Simple as that.
One of the most awaited grand finals of all time. Burgess, and taken by Graham.
I know in his head he was ticking. I have to go after him. I have to. To win this game, I've got to dominate him, and yeah, what a first collision.
And Burgess has come away pointing at his cheekbone, I think.
Yeah, I was captain that day, won the toss, obviously kicking off, and I'm ready to go and get some action. And I know he wanted that first touch, and I wanted that first tackle. And just going down there, and it's like, well, yeah, it's like, you know, it's happening. This is real.
There looks like a little depression there.
Here we are thinking Sam's going to go off, and he stays on the whole game, and yeah, it's unbelievable.
Well, if he's got a broken cheekbone, it's not that apparent. He's talking and he's hitting hard, and he's forced an error here.
Souths have all the possession in the first 20 minutes, but the Bulldogs' defence holds.
Here's Reynolds now, plenty of time to kick. Dylan Walker goes after Josh Morris, who's tackled, and he's in the field of play.
That was a testament of our boys and their fight and their willingness to fight.
We were happy to still be in the fight. We were hanging on. Just hold on to the ball, and we'll come back into this.
Perrott loses the ball. South play the advantage. Here's Dylan Walker. Here's Lottie Takiri. Lottie Takiri. He scores.
Yeah, we're clunky.
There might be a problem here for the Rabbits.
With Perrott obviously hit high. No try, it'll be a penalty.
At the 20-minute mark, the damn wall finally breaks.
Alex Johnston! Johnston had scored!
It's been a very intense final series already for us.
There were a number of injuries, myself included. I had a niggling injury with the knee still throughout the year. Josh Reynolds had a shoulder issue. Obviously Mick, our captain, hurt his foot and then had to do the fitness test and then failed that.
We'd spent the first 40 minutes defending our line. We were zapped.
The Bulldogs didn't have the run of play in the first half. However, the score remained 6-0. And early in the second half, they managed to strike back.
Come away to Graham, out the back play to Reynolds. There's a chance for Tony Williams. Tony Williams has scored.
We're back. It was a relief. Me and T-Rex had worked on that a few times throughout the year. We got us back in the game, and the wheels had slowly come back on, and we were ready to roll again.
Look at them, the blue and white army.
I felt we had momentum, and I spoke about momentum. That was the most momentum we'd ever had. So we were confident, but they scored one more.
George Burgess, he's going all the way. Somebody stop him.
Well, how would you stop him?
Do you think now, like, we'll just have one big last throw of the dice? And we couldn't, because we didn't have anything left.
It was one of those ones. We score next, we win, I think. We're on a bit of a roll, but that's what it is. Grand final efforts. South turned us away. Melbourne turned us away. Melbourne turned us away in their grand final moments.
Souths run away with the game to take their first title since 1971. While for the Bulldogs, they taste defeat in the grand final for the second time in 3 years.
2012, I walked off knowing that I probably couldn't have played any better. I didn't have that same feeling in 2014.
It's a flame I never got to put out, which sucks. It is my biggest regret ever in rugby league, and we were so close. But just on that day, we got beat by the better team.
It's one of those feelings, you're in a stadium full of 80,000 people, but you feel like you're on your own. That was probably our last best shot.
We got very close, but it didn't work out. You never quite get over those. You don't. They stay with you, and that's fine. Give almost anything to go back and try it all over again, but you can't.
We can probably take a bit of pride in what we've achieved this year, but yeah, I don't know, mate. I'm lost for words.
When I think back at it, it's special.
Well, the Bulldogs are relentless with the ball and also in defence.
The hot potato doggies at their best once again. Reynolds keeps it alive. It goes to Morris. A chance for Wright from the sideline. They're in again.
Even though we didn't win the grand finals, we had a lot of success. We had players make their international debuts, players make their test debuts, origins. Des did a great job for the club. He turned the club into a lot more professional organisation, and the players really loved playing under Des.
And those Bulldogs teams in that blue and white jersey, wearing that with them with pride, actually meant something to so many people. I'm grateful for them to be able to give me that joy and the passion that I tried to put into that jersey every week, and I hope it meant something to them.
Certainly excited to have him playing alongside me at the Doggies.
I still sometimes don't think it was real. I will never feel that way again.
I can sleep at night knowing now that I've come back to the place I love.